Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today we are going to have a look at 3 great new things at the same time. Number 1, we are currently in ORBX Gold Coast Airport, which is going to come out very soon. Number 2, we are going to have a look at the brand new and long awaited update for the Microsoft ATR72. And number 3, we are going to fly to ORBX brand new Gladstone Airport, which is looking completely amazing again. So, loads of things that we have got on our plans today, so let's hop right into our airplane. The Virgin Australia ATR72 600 is waiting for us, and just a small point over here, they did operate those until 2020 and thereafter they got rid of them. But hey, let's head right inside our airplane, and we are going to head up to the cockpit of our ATR. Okay. And immediately I'm getting stuck in the view over here. Lovely. That is... I don't know when that came up. Well, here we go. Interesting. Those invisible walls on aircraft, the Inbuilt A300 has the same, are really becoming a bit of a pain over here. Okay, so heading straight over into our ATR. I'm gonna keep all those doors open for the moment. And let's take a seat over here. So, first things first then, let's go ahead and power the airplane up, and thereafter we are going to decide on things like the fuel and the route of flight and stuff like that. So, gear pins and covers are on board, circuit breakers are all checked, nothing behind us. Okay, power lever 1 and 2 ground idle. We've got the gust block engaged, condition levers fuel shutter, flap lever is set at 0, that's where the flaps were on the outside as well. Landing gear lever down, EECs are in. Okay, then wipers are both off. And then let's go, battery on. Then the MFDs are going to conduct their automatic check. We check that the emergency and essential bus supply indicator are illuminated, which they are. Okay then, and we've got electrical supply to the inboard displays and the first MCDU, very good. Okay, so with that, the avionic initialization is going to continue. In the meantime, what we are going to do is we go over into the aircraft menu, connect our DC ground power, which is what we want to use today. Okay, so GPU, avail and on. So the rest of the displays is powering up, the second MCDU is powering up, excellent. Okay, cool. So, with that, we are basically done with the power-up of the airplane. So let's take a quick moment here to have a look into the EFB and our flight plan. Now, flight plan, unfortunately, rather relative here, because we cannot view the actual OFP, which I would really hope that they add that feature at some point. But it looks like Microsoft just isn't that much of a fan of it. But okay, so be it. Alright, so we're doing the Virgin Australia Flight 301, which is a charter flight from Gold Coast to Gladstone. That's our routing over here, that is our fuel planning, and well, we somewhat have the most essential data we need for our flight planning, even though it would be really neat to see the actual OFP. But okay, so let's have a quick look. Weather in Gladstone is very good at the moment, and the forecasts, light showers of rain from 0900, which is basically when I'm starting this recording. We'll have no significant weather, scattered clouds 1500, so that's perfect for our flight. Alright, great, then we're going to set the payload, we're going to set the fuel, and going over to the gauge over here. Let's go ahead. Payload weight is looking good, we can load that up. Alright, we'll leave the empty, we'll leave the 0 fuel. For the actual fuel over here, we're going to make it slightly more. Let's make it 2,500 kilograms. Well, doesn't work, okay, then we're overweight. Well, give me 2,300 then. Alright, that's looking good, bring us pretty much to the max takeoff weight. But that is okay. Alright, so start loading please. Thank you very much. And then we can close that down. Okay, so with that our airplane is loaded. That is looking good. Alright. Cool. Performance, well, it's basically doing that all on its own, so we don't even have to deal with it. Alright. Great. So that's this stuff completed. Then let's go ahead and do the rest of our panel track, really. So we start on the overhead here, making sure that our fuel pumps are actually working. Thrust feed is working as well. Looking good. And back off. So door test, looking good. And nothing up here in the flight controls. Very careful with the fire test, that we don't accidentally fire anything that we don't intend to fire here. Okay, coming down to the lights, we'll turn on the nav light, the rest can wait. Prop brake can stay off for now. And all of that good stuff is looking good. CVR test, looking good. Then, signs. No device can come on. Seatbelts, well, fueling is finished, can come on. And we'll arm the emergency lights. Well, apparently, depending on which sources you want to consult, you would already turn the probe heat and the anti-icing panel on or off, depending on the source. So the AFCOM I have available says probe heat off to avoid any burn injury to ground crew, and windshield heating on. So that is what we are going to do. Alright then, we don't have an AC wild GPU connected, so that stuff is going to stay off. Alright then, moving up to the last part here, annunciators. We can run the test, making sure that everything is working correctly down here. And with that now done, let's go ahead and turn on the oxygen and run the second fire check. Which is looking good. Alright then, leading us down to the side panel, even though there's nothing really to check on here, just a quick look over. Nose wheel steering is armed. Oxygen mask, can we do the test there? Oh yeah, we can now. I don't think that's been possible on the first version of it, was it? Okay, great. Then we can move on over the side, over the TORS panel. Nothing is set on here yet. I mean, we could go ahead and set the QNH already, which is 1010. So, bow ref 1010. Excellent. Okay, going over the main panel. We've got takeoff selected, we've got 1010. Oh, interesting, we can't set the standby. That's lovely. Well, oh boy, I thought they updated that thing. Alright, so, then we can come down to the pedestal, but there's not really a lot to do over here. So just make sure we perform the ATCP. Damn, can't even pronounce it. Just make sure we pronounce the test down here. Okay, that's pretty much looking good. Also, I will turn on those lights that we do have available here. I mean, it's not the brightest of all aircraft inside, I have to say, so let's go ahead and turn on what we got. Alright, that should be good. Perfect, so I'm going to skip over the trim test because I find it rather hard to put it back exactly to neutral in Flight Simulator. So for that reason, we'll leave it as it is. Okay, fuel on board is fixed now, it seems, 2,260 kilograms. Fuel used will have to reset later, so that one was bugged on an earlier version, but is working fine again now, which is certainly much appreciated. Okay, cool. So then let's go ahead and have a look at the FMS. Okay, general data, ATR72 is looking good. In it, well, let's not talk about the databases, shall we? Okay, pass in it, we're going to use the GPS position. Return. Then nav data, MSFS database, expiry date current. Doesn't actually tell us from when it is, does it? Okay, so be it. We can live with that. Okay, flight plan in it. Let's go. Route. And we are going from, and this is the interesting part now. So, Yankee Bravo Charlie Golf. Slash Yankee GLA. I can remember that. Okay, let's go at execute. So, departures. Let's see what we got. The wind is coming from 150 at 5. Okay, that's runway 14. That's rather obvious. Now, the more interesting question here is, we don't have any sit on this one. It's just taking us direct to Scott. So, we'll probably just have to grab our Navigraph charts over here. And we'll have to find something ourselves. And once again, it did sign me out of Navigraph. I wonder why that is. It seems to do that a lot recently. But I don't really know why. Maybe something on Navigraph's side. Okay, cool. So, should be connected now. Thank you. Yes, I know about those charts. Alright, and that is our route of flight. Perfect. So, you can see, departing to Scott is basically just going right out to the open ocean. So, looking at the sits they do have available here, that means we've got to fly the Gold Coast 6 departure, which is basically just runway heading, radar vectors. But if that's what they want us to do, then that's what we are going to do. Okay, great. So then, Gold Coast 6, no transition, execute. So that's basically manual leg, and thereafter we are going to continue along our planned route. Okay, so let's get rid of those charts for a moment. Fly towards Scott. And that's definitely the south coordinate. Execute. Okay, then Scott Airway. Which one is it? Quebec 47 towards Itida. Thereafter, we continue on Quebec 295 towards Gutso. And then Quebec 67 Lofa. I love how easy it is to enter those waypoints on the ATR. The plane is really doing a good job there. Okay, towards Lofa. Execute. And that is what we need. Alright then. So, return, return. And for arrival in the Gladstone, let's have a look at what we got over there. So, the current wind is 110 at 9, the forecast wind is 080 at 9, so that pretty much leaves us with runway 10. So, let's choose the RNAV approach runway 10, no star, and execute. So, quick look over what we have now. That looks pretty much okay to me. Alright. Cool, so that's our flight plan entered. Then let's just try to find our way back into the menus. Here we are. Okay, so weight initialization. I do believe it did that automatically based upon the values we inserted on the payload page, but let's quickly check. Zero fuel 20496. Yep, that's what we got, fuel on board 2300, and that is all looking good. Alright, perfect. So we can just keep those weights. Return. Performance in it. So, cruising altitude is going to be 18,000. I did calculate that using SimBrief's calculate and compare mode, because SimBrief itself wanted to use 14,000, which I thought was rather low. So I thought, well, let's go 18. And from those 18, we can then, while we will fly for 3 minutes longer, we are going to save some fuel, like 5% or something, which in my opinion is certainly worth the trade-off. Okay, so our alternate is going to be Yankee Bravo Romeo Kilo, and we're going to cruise there at, let's see if SimBrief did calculate that. I do have that on my physical iPad now, by the way. So, cruising at flight level 100. Alright, looking good. Maximum cruise is correct. So that is all looking good now. Okay, then we can go on to the VNAV pages. Well, not that one, the performance pages I did mean. Okay, so transition altitude 10,000. Takeoff speeds, well, yeah, those do seem right to me. And let's go on to the cruise. Mean wind from our plan is going to be 218 at 5. Okay, and nothing needed there for the alternate, really. Okay, and the descent stuff we can absolutely prepare on the approach. Alright, great, so let's see, distance is 334 versus flight plan distance of 325. So that's probably due to the departure and the approach, but that is definitely good for me. Alright then, great, so we are basically done with our FMS setup down here. Then let's go ahead with our displays. So we could use those hidden click spots up here, but what we could also do is just to find a way down like that. So we could take bearing 1, bearing 2, basically VOR and ADF, or we could just go to, here it is, VOR. So nav display, obviously, we can have a quick look through the systems, making sure that everything's looking good over here. So fuel, so this one is measured by the sensors, while this one is basically from the data entry. So you always gotta check those over here on the actual fuel page. Okay. Lots of green, I do like that. Okay, so we are done with those. Now what we can do is we can go to the performance in it, reset the fuel used, so that reset the counters up here. And for the takeoff data, let's have a very quick look over here. Performance, yeah, it's not really a very, comprehensive takeoff calculator. That's just, well, a toy. But anyway, we can confirm that. And we can keep all that lovely stuff good. Alright, cool. Then we can go on. And we can go down to the VAD. But, as you can see, it correctly logs the status of the doors, really. But I do think that's about it. Okay, then let's go on from there. Map is the airport map. And we are going to try and use that. Alright, so with all of that basically done, let's return to the nav display, and we are quickly going to set that one up as well. So I will use the standard map layout over here. Okay, great. Then we can continue with other stuff that we got, which is now up here on the comms, and I'm going to use 122.8 for our COM1, and then COM2, 121.5. Well, it's going to switch that active. On the NAVs, we don't really need anything, neither on the ADF. For the overlay, we are going to use traffic. I want my nav aids, I want my airports, and we'll keep it on the weather overlay, that's fine. Synthetic vision, I tell you honestly, I don't like the looks of this. I really don't. So let's keep the synthetic vision off and stay on the standard display. I very much prefer that. Okay, finally going down to surveillance. Let's go for some sort of an IFR squawk in there. And altitude off. Okay, then finally down to the TCAS, and that one stays on auto. Very good. Alright, so with that we should pretty much be done with our display setup over here. The last thing we got now is down here on the MFD. And on that one, well, we'd have to find a way through here, so I kinda prefer to use the click spots for that. What is new, by the way, that I just see is the landing elevation over here. That used to be dashed out before the update, so they did update that. Looking pretty good. Alright then, let's go ahead and clear all those buttons. Luckily the hidden click spots are basically located like they are on the display down here. So on the left side you got up, down, and then the open key, to call it like that. And then over here you got things like procedure menu, manual delete, clear, and recall. And you can basically transfer them to the display like that. So manual delete is up here, so we can remove all those faults after we've analyzed them. But if we wanted to recall them, for example, then the recall button is located on the lower left. So we could just press over here, and that should, in theory, call for a recall. Well, anyway. Okay, let's go for the final cockpit preparation checklist then. So database versions and stuff is checked. Okay, so park and brake. Engaged and pressure checked. Altimeters. 1010 reading 30. Can't set it over here, unfortunately, because that is just doing nothing. Maybe if we press standard once or twice. Nope. Funny, the QNH is stuck on the standby altimeter. With that, the airplane would be grounded, so it would no longer be airworthy. Well, I can't be bothered. I'm just going to press the B button now. That is going to synchronize it. Okay, so altimeter set and checked, landing elevation checked, FMS com nav set, fuel quantity, fuel on board checked, engine fuel used, reset, memo panel checked, power management, takeoff, final cockpit preparation checklist complete. Alright, excellent. So next up is going to be the before propeller rotation checklist. So let's go ahead and close our doors, and then we'll put the airplane into hotel mode. So that can go, and then finally, let's get rid of those charts. Let's go ahead and close the door up here as well. So that's closed, and that's closed. Alright, great. And since we got a lot of you flight simmers up here, let's see, can we extend the jump seat? I don't believe we could in this plane, could we? Nah. Doesn't really look like it. I could have sworn that the jump seat was extendable, but okay. So be it. Then we'll have to stick with what we got. That shall be fine as well. Alright, cool. So then, let's see. I do want my engine in hotel mode, so let's use the auxiliary hydraulic pump there. Then we can take the prop brake. Oh, come on. Turn it on. Okay, propeller brake is ready. Or not. Wait a moment. I do believe we do just need hydraulic power for that. And then it should work. Yeah, ready. Okay. So, wing light coming on. That's the indication to the ground crew. And then let's see. Start A and B. And we're going to start with start 2. Okay, so the propeller brake is on, that's the most important thing there. We got NH, 10%, so bringing in fuel. Engine coming up. Now let's just quickly check that I did everything right. The NP stays at 0, so the propeller brake is working. So I didn't fuck it up. And I didn't slice any of my ground crew as well. Over here it still is. Very good. Alright, that's awesome. So, what's new? Hydraulic system loss. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, excellent. So, that engine is working, and then we can go ahead and remove the external power. That puts on generator number 2. Okay, so, shocks can be removed, ground power can be removed. So that is basically all we needed to do. The engine is now running in hotel mode. And for those of you who are not aware, hotel mode basically means that the propeller itself is locked by the propeller brake, but the engine running behind it is working. So the engine is running, providing power to the airplane, but the propeller brake simply locks the propeller. Now, en route, I will talk a little bit more about why that is possible and how a turboprop engine in itself works. But for now, rest assured that that's a pretty good system. Okay, so let's go straight back inside. And then we can continue with our cockpit preparation. Well, Not a cockpit preparation, but our startup procedure. Okay, so all the doors are closed. The number 2 is running already. So we can continue with the before propeller rotation procedures, which basically are quite easy. So signs are on. We'll put the beacon light on as a warning to all the ground crew that we're about to continue with the startup. Now let's see if GSX is nope. Oh boy. All set wheel chocks if in hotel mode. Well, at least it does recognize that hotel mode exists, so let's just go ahead and give it a little try. See if we can get onto something here. So prepare for position. Handling by Virgin. Now it would be nice to have some sort of instructions directly in GSX on how to proceed with the hotel mode, but I suppose it's going to be fine. Alright, let me guess. Everyone's running through the barriers? Oh yeah. Lovely. Alright, cool. So, since we are going to perform a pushback, we'll put the nose wheel steering off. And most importantly, we gotta remember to put that one back on later on. That's probably the most important thing here. Okay. Then, I would say we quickly go ahead and pre-select our altitude for the climb here, starting at 5,000 or something the likes. Ground from cockpit. Go ahead. So, please confirm all doors and hatches are closed. Okay, thanks. That's a quick version, I suppose. Alright, so we're ready to push, and you just let us know when you are ready. Okay. Before propeller rotation checklist. Cockpit door locking system. On. FMS and takeoff data. Confirmed. Trims on 3-axis set. Okay, so... where's that trim indication again? Oh, here it is. Awesome. Alright, so we just gotta set that to the target number in the middle there. Trim, trim, trim. Here we go. Okay, so pushback direction is going to be to the left-hand side, please. Nose left. Is it? Yes. Nose left. Roger, stand by. Okay, trims on 3-axis set, tail prop on board, doors, can see that over here. Closed, seat belts, on, beacon on, before propeller rotation checklist complete. Alright, great. So, ground cockpit. Pushback is approved with the nose to the north, parking brake set. And parking brake. Suppose we gotta remove the chocks first. Brake released.
All engines clear. Start at will.
Roger. Okay, great. So, we'll have the pushback in progress, and as we're waiting for the push, let's see that from the outside. That's looking quite awesome, isn't it? Really like it. I really do. As slow as it is, the ATR is an awesome looking aircraft. The pushback just seems endless, looking at how small the plane is, though. I do remember doing this with the Airbus, and it went a lot quicker. Alright, so, let's wait until the push is completed before we actually commence our propeller rotation and then our second engine start. Just, you know, I want to take care of that guy down there. He's already wearing a pretty nifty piece of clothing there, seeing that we've got 25 degrees in Gold Coast at the moment. And I do have a feeling that that is just going to cause him to be a little bit inattentive. Okay. So, parking brakes are set. Do I really need to put trucks back in now for GSX to recognize that? No. Okay. Alright. Cool, then I would say, let's see, is the area still clear? Yes. He is going to stay clear of... Hello there. Okay, no further comment. So, aux hydraulic pump on. Propeller brake off. So, turning 2. Hello? Yeah, thank you very much. You're clear to disconnect if you still can. Okay, well, no further comment on that. Alright, so. Properly. Condition lever 2 going in auto. PC single channel is gone, low pitch. Here it is. Okay, probe heating on. Anti-ice is not required off. Then hydraulic triple indication is... Where is that actually in this plane? Doesn't matter, let's continue. Okay, so flaps 15 and then engine 1 start. It's kind of interesting that they do stuff like extending the flaps before actually commencing the start of the other engine, but that's what my FCOM tells me to do, so... Here, there is one thing certain airlines, like certain Irish airlines, don't want you to do, it's to question the FCOM, so we'll probably just do it anyway. Okay, so number 2 is... number 1 is coming up. So, single channel warning is gone, low pitch indication is coming. Let's wait until the engine is stabilized. Come on, last 10%. Looking good. Okay, so generator's looking good, BTC is open. Cockpit comm hatch is closed. I just love that document door down here. I mean, look at that, it's a little doorway you can hand things like the load sheet and stuff through. Totally love it. Okay, but we gotta make sure that that's actually closed. Okay, thank you. Great. Then nose wheel steering, put that back on. Recall. Looking good. Okay. Then let's do the before taxi checklist. Flight warning system recalled, cockpit comm hatch closed, condition lever 1 and 2, auto, anti-icing off, TRU. Now, lots of you told me that I would actually have to turn the TRU on in here, which is kind of interesting. I mean, doesn't really follow the dark cockpit principle, does it? And having to open that guard all the time? But, well, if they do say that's normal procedure, then they probably do. Okay, so TRU on and checked. Any skid test? We didn't do that. Let's do it now. Okay, any skid test performed. Flaps 15, nose wheel steering on, before taxi checklist complete. Okay then, back to the nav display. ND on both sides, and you can go over here as well. Great. Okay, cool. So, taxi should be fairly straightforward. in the most literal sense. But nonetheless, if we do have an airport map available, we are still going to use it. Okay, so zoom settings are looking alright. So taxi is fairly straight out. Yeah, as I said. Great. So taxi and takeoff lights on. We're clear on the left, clear on the right, and brake released. So very slight power, and it's taxiing by itself. Brake check. Looking good. Okay, so we taxi straight out to the end, left, right, full length. With 2,500 meters runway, we basically wouldn't even need to taxi to the full length, but hey, I want to do it anyway. So, can we click the toga button? Yes, we can. Perfect. Okay, speed is managed. That was just something that came to my eye, that we didn't have any modes on the flight director yet. Taxi just looks so quick. We're doing 12 knots and it looks like, you know, 20 knots. Or probably 30 in the A330 or in the A300 in the sim even. But okay, we're doing what we're supposed to do. Windsock is looking good, runway 14. Okay, clear left side, clear right side. Okay, crossing runway 3517. Strobe lights are on. By the way, why did I not put that back to off? Okay, so, couple of things for us to do down here. Runway heading. (140) is pre-selected. Heading mode, we don't need nav mode on this one, so heading select it is. And then we can use speed mode for as soon as we are airborne with a speed bug already set. Very good. Okay. So let's do a takeoff config test. Reminds me of the A300 really, doesn't it? Okay, takeoff config test okay. A little hard to read there. I'm sure in the real airplane that's a lot easier. Those displays are probably a lot greater in the real airplane than they are in the flight simulator, but hey. Okay, so ATC clearance is obtained, cleared altitude 5000 is set, FMS revised if necessary, not really. Okay, so let's just quickly go ahead and revise our takeoff briefing. It is going to be a left seat takeoff on runway 14, flaps 15, noise abatement procedure number 2, and it's going to be a radar vector departure, so probably a left turn out over the ocean pretty soon after our takeoff. So, for any significant failure above V1, I will call stop and take any necessary stop actions. Above V1, the takeoff will be continued with no action except for raising the landing gear. Standard procedures for engine failure, and we can simply go straight ahead, climbing to something like 3000. That is going to keep us safe. Alright. Any questions? No? Great. Then let's do the taxi checklist. So, taxi and takeoff lights. On, brakes checked. FGCP and FMA set checked. Takeoff config test performed. Taxi checklist complete. Okay, great. Then I would say clear left side, clear right side. Let's go ahead and do the lineup items. Gas block off, flight control check. Full up, full down, full left, full right, neutral, and the rudder, full left, full right, neutral. Okay, transponder on. Weather radar, we are going to turn it on because why not? Okay, airflow is normal, overhead panel is looking all good. Okay then, cleared lineup and takeoff. Just got a long before takeoff checklist ahead, but hey. So, runway 14 is confirmed. Okay, before takeoff checklist. Takeoff briefing performed, gas block off, flight controls checked, transponder on, boost function off, airflow norm, below the line please. Cabin crew prepare for departure. Cabin crew advised, engine bleeds on, external lights on, lateral flight director bar. Centered, rudder cam centered, before takeoff checklist complete. Okay. So let's bring up the nav display, and then we are ready to go. Okay, takeoff. Set power. Power set. $80 knots, checked. It's keeping really steady on the runway, I do like that. Okay. V1, rotate. Just a slight pull and the nose is coming up. Awesome. Okay, positive climb, gear up. Okay, speed hold, yaw damper, autopilot. Alrighty, so taxi and takeoff light can already be turned off. Passing 1,000, let's go ahead and start our left-hand turn. Let's do something like heading 090 at first so that we don't overfly the vegetation down there. Okay, climb power is selected. Bleeds are checked on, very good. Okay, flaps 0. Okay. So let's continue our climb to cruise level, flight level 180. Set 18,000 blue. And according to ATR, once we're cleared to flight level, set standard. Standard cross-check passing, flight level 29. Now, after takeoff checklist. Landing gear up, flaps 0, power management NP, climb and checked, engine bleed on, taxi and takeoff light off, down to the line, below the line, altimeters, standard set cross-checked, after takeoff checklist complete. Alright, excellent. We made it. Okay, let's go direct to Scott. Enter and nav. Oh, nav. Okay, excellent. So that is pretty much all the stuff we needed to do. Complete. So now we can relax a little bit. Enjoy a lovely view down on the Gold Coast here. And start looking forward to Gladstone. Hour and 20 flight time, but what I really like about the ATR is how excellent it handles under time acceleration. So, seeing the slow speed of this airplane, I'm pretty happy that we do have time acceleration available with this airplane. Now, I can't wait for the first comments like, oh, real flight simulators don't use time acceleration. Well, at that point, I just refer you to my video on why time acceleration actually makes your flights more realistic rather than less realistic. Cause let's face it, when we're sitting there in the A330, especially when doing some lovely night flights, we would be more than happy to have time acceleration at our disposal. So, back in the day when I did my video on time acceleration, I didn't even know that I would become a long-haul pilot rather soon thereafter. But my points basically still stand. And I can add to that now that, honestly, when you are going to do a long flight through the night without a third pilot, then you are pretty happy if you do have time acceleration at your disposal. Now, in the real world it would be lovely as well, but hey, we'll take it straight from here, do we? Okay, so inbound is Scott. Let's see, any good shortcuts we could take? Yeah, not really, huh? Okay, it's fine. What's rather interesting here, the level of arrow at level 180 and the top of climb indication here in level 180 are quite different from one another. I do suspect that that is because the... I do suspect that that's because this one is using our actual vertical speed, while that is using our VNAV profile, which probably takes into consideration already that the airplane is not going to be able to maintain the vertical speed that we're doing right now all the way until the top of climb over there. But hey, it's fine, huh? Okay, so, synchronize the heading dock, and everything on our main displays is looking good. We certainly don't need any of those abnormal procedures. Master of the landing elevation showing here as well now. So, well, what's my first impression on the new ATR update then? Well, contrary to my previous flight with it, where we encountered quite a bit of trouble, for now, the ATR is doing what it's supposed to do. Now, I'm flying it pretty much out of the AFCOM, which I got open on my iPad directly in front of me, and it is doing what it's supposed to do. Now, obviously, I can't tell if all of the nuances are correct. For that, you'd need a typewriter pilot, which I absolutely am not in that airplane. So, nonetheless, I do dare to say that for the most part it is doing what we want it to do. Okay, so quick look into the cabin as well there. Now, something I really like about the ATR is you open those doors, you get into the luggage compartment, then you can close the flight deck door actually before you open the cabin door. So that's quite nice. Provides an additional layer of safety there in case you've got anybody on board who might be, let's say, tempted to do stuff they would regret later. Now, just quickly want to have a look down here from the passenger perspective. That is something that I do really enjoy in the ATR. It's just, you know, you're looking outside and just look at the weather and how everything looks like at the moment, and it really feels like you would be flying a lot higher than you actually are. So if we go to the outside, then you kind of see the altitude, but I do dare to say that from the passenger perspective there, if you're just looking out the window like this, you kind of lose your the sense that the airplane can only go up to flight level 250. And flight level 180 is our cruise. Well, in many aircraft I would kinda not appreciate cruising that low. In the ATR, well, look outside. I mean, we're in 8,000 or so right now, and it doesn't really show in my opinion. Obviously that's from a passenger's perspective, where you basically don't have an idea on how high you're flying anyway. Alright, that was just a small thing there that I wanted to show you. Now the most important check we are still to do, that is, did they finally include the toilets? And I don't think they did. What they still do have is lots of light bleeding through at the back of the cabin. That's something that they should certainly do something about, especially on the door up here. I mean, look at that. Okay, but the toilet is unfortunately not simulated, at least not the door. Alright, so, well, let's go back to the front then, back to the cockpit, and we are going to resume some of the, let's call it, a little bit more interesting stuff. The stuff that's got to do with piloting. I really like this. You just go here, shut the door again. Oh, by the way, talking about shutting the door. You remember on one of my first videos where that stuff coming over here, I don't know what it actually is. Probably a camera, I suppose. And the wiring of the camera, that used to be broken on the initial release. I'm not sure if it's been fixed now or if that was fixed earlier already. What I can still see is that the cargo door as well over there is still bleeding light through it. So it isn't quite perfect yet, but hey. Alright, here we are again. That's where we want to be. And we've crossed 10,000 feet, so let's go. Landing lights off. Pressurization, very quick check. Where's my system displays? Here they are. Okay, it's building. Cabin altitude looking good. Rate of climb looking good. Okay, back to the ND. Okay, so seatbelts. I do think it is going to stay just as smooth as it is right now. I mean, this is a beautiful summer day here down in Australia. So, seatbelts off. No devices can go off as well. And that's the climb procedure through level 100 complete already. Alright, so let's do that first turn over at Scott. Look at how the rate of climb is dropping during the turn. 700 feet a minute. Now it's slightly increasing again as we are rolling wings level and thereby getting more lift again. Okay. And here we go. Alright, so tell you what. So, topic of time acceleration, which is something that I do really appreciate the ATR having, so let's quickly talk about it and what we can do with it. Now, the most important thing there is that by default it is not assigned. So we do need to do some reassignment. Even though there are some reports out there that apparently you would be able to assign them by, or they would be assigned by default, but it didn't really work in my opinion. But let's try. So Control R plus. Numpad plus, that is. That is what they say would be the default time acceleration key, but it doesn't really work. So what we can do though is we can go into the simulator settings, and in there we do actually have those available. So if we go into the menu, then we go into the control options, then we go onto the keyboard, and then if we just search for the term rate, then we should be able, here we go, sim rate. It is the R button, and then we can go increase sim rate, so we can do, for example, R and numpad plus, validate, and then in order to decrease the sim rate, we can go R and numpad minus. That's just an example. Okay, so let's apply and save that. Go back, resume, and now let's give that a try. So I've just increased the simulation rate by 4, and if we look down at the instruments, then that's a rate of climb that I do appreciate actually. And what's quite cool to see there is how the airplane is going to respond. By the way, why did I say flight level 182? Here we go. 179. Come on. Okay, flight level 180 blue. So, I rather appreciate this. over what we had previously. Okay, so we're out. Funnily enough, you can see the chronometer running a little quicker down there now. Now, again, a couple of talking points there in terms of time acceleration and my general experience with it. So, first of all, let's talk ATR specific, thereafter we'll talk about other add-ons. So, obviously there is a couple of limitations in place when using time acceleration. Mostly, it's simply the fact that, let's say we accelerate our time by 4, that means that the airplane systems only get 1/4 of the information they would normally get in order to conduct their job. That mostly means the autopilot and the ability of the autopilot to maintain control of the airplane. Now the ATR does a very good job of that. Let's wait until we reach the turn over Addons over there, and you will be surprised how well the ATR is able to maintain its flight path. Other aircraft do a little bit worse of a job there. For example, the INI builds A300 or the Phoenix A320, both of them really suffer when using time acceleration. Now, Phoenix can take a 2x acceleration, but you gotta use the menu in the FMS in order to control that, otherwise your systems are going to jerk off. Now, let's go ahead and see how the airplane is going to perform that turn. Should start at any moment now. Here we go. Starting the left-hand turn. And look at that. It's perfect. That looks exactly like what the airplane would do under normal circumstances, just a little bit quicker. Okay, reaching cruising altitude, I'm going to take it out of acceleration for a moment. So, back to normal. And when you do that, always cross-check it with your timer. Make sure that the seconds are running real time. Otherwise, I have, in one occasion, accidentally landed an airplane in the sim using 2x time acceleration. I was wondering, like, man, that rate of descent looks really quick there, and why is the runway getting bigger so quickly? And, well, all of a sudden it was like, man, that's 1,000 feet a minute impact rate. Alright, so, we're in cruise. Cruise is selected on the power management. And a quick check through our airplane systems to make sure that everything is still running the way it's supposed to. Fuel is also looking good there. Bleed is looking good. Temperatures are looking good. And that's pretty much it. Okay, great. So, seatbelts are definitely not required at the moment, and looking outside, they won't be required for quite a while as well. Okay, cool. So, then let's put it back into acceleration. I'm going back for a 4x. And like that, it won't be all too long to our destination. At least I do hope so. Unless we get some unpleasant surprises. Now, let's quickly talk about other aircraft using time acceleration. So, some of them, as far as I'm aware, only PMDG actually, have a purpose-built autopilot that can cope with time acceleration, but it will need certain prerequisites. So, for example, with PMDG, when you're doing a turn, you better return to real time. But when you are just flying straight and level, then the autopilot is doing a very, very good job under time acceleration. Now, in other aircraft, it may or may not work. Best just you go ahead and try that out yourself. Now, I still read the comment that time acceleration would not be allowed when flying online a lot, and that is actually completely wrong. Indeed, when you are flying on VATSIM, the Code of Conduct specifically regulates how time acceleration may be used. And what it says is basically that you can use time acceleration at any moment, provided that you scan for other traffic outside and don't hinder other traffic. So in other words, don't fly through anybody. And if you're approaching somebody who is in your way, you know, either change altitude or navigate around them with enough of a distance. And if you are entering controlled airspace, and controlled airspace in this term means airspace where ATC is online, not controlled airspace according to airspace classification criteria. When you're entering that and an ATC is online, then you need to ask them for permission. Now, typically, I wouldn't do that on the frequency, but I would just send them a private message asking, hey, do you mind if I turn on the afterburners or stuff like that. And in my experience, I only came across like 2 or 3 controllers that just said like, nah, I don't want that in general. I came across a couple more who said like, sorry, the airspace is just too busy, I couldn't watch you when you're going hypersonic, which is completely understandable. But in general, controllers do tend to allow it when it's possible. So, the other talking point then is, why would you want to use time acceleration at all? Well, there's a couple of points for why I personally am a big fan of using that feature. The first one you actually see in action right now. It enables us to do flights between airport pairs that otherwise we just wouldn't have the time to do. So obviously I could have taken like 2.5 hours to record this video with the entire cruise in real time, but let's be honest over here, I'm an airline pilot. I don't have that much time available, unfortunately. I wish I did, but I don't, so I do find my way around finding different solutions for the problem at hand, which is exactly what pilots do. And if it means that a flight that takes like 1 hour and 30 in the real world all of a sudden becomes possible for me, flying between 2 airports that I really want to fly in between, then hey, that's a good thing, isn't it? And that's exactly what I'm doing over here. Now, apart from that though, a couple other points that, in my opinion, make time acceleration a more realistic tool for our simulators. Many flight sim pilots only fly flights that are in the range of about 1 hour or maximum 2 hours. Now, according to a Navigraph survey from a couple of years back, many flight sim pilots actually only fly flights that are under 1 hour in length. Now that means that you will always be at a very light takeoff weight. That means you will always be at very similar takeoff weights. So your airplane is always going to behave the same. Now, in the real world, it is part of the challenge that when you do a flight close to the max takeoff weight of the airplane is going to behave completely different from how it is going to feel when you do a flight at a very light weight. Now that's especially going to become important when you fly a long-haul airliner, let's say the A300 or the upcoming PMDG 777. Now, when you fly those, and you always fly 777 at very light weight, the thing is going to be a beast climbing at several thousand feet a minute, like 5,000, 6,000 feet a minute. But in the real world, when those things are flown on long sectors, you know, they don't climb at 4,000 feet a minute. It's a completely different experience flying those aircraft close to the max takeoff weight and on a long-range route than it would be to fly such an aircraft at, you know, always just waits for 1 hour flight time or so. And that, in my opinion, greatly adds to the realism of doing such flights. Also, how many of you have dealt with long-haul procedures yet? Probably not many. Now, I am going to do a couple tutorials on those when the PMDG 777 is close to release. No, that does not constitute of any hints as to its actual release time, just as a disclaimer there. But covering long-haul procedures is something that many flight simmers are completely unaware of. However, understandably, if you don't want to do a 10-hour flight in real time on your sim, but if you do it with, you know, 4 or 8x time acceleration, all of a sudden these things become viable. And that is something that I do really appreciate. So, all of these options, in my opinion, make your flight sim experience a lot more diversified, and they do give you insights into real aviation that doing only 1 hour flight you simply wouldn't get. Alright, so that much about those talking points, so let's go ahead and return to our cockpit now and see where our airplane is actually headed. Because we are slowly approaching our end of the flight plan route, so we gotta start thinking about building up some approach. Let's take it out of acceleration for a moment, back to real time. Again, once we're out of it, quick check at the chronometer, make sure that the seconds do actually run correctly, which they do seem to do right now. And then let's go ahead and take up our Navigraph charts and have a look into our arrival. So here we are, Gladstone. Let's see what we've got. Approach. Should be a runway 10 approach if I'm not mistaken. But quick check at the weather down here. So 11089, and is that actually the current weather or is it just the one from SimBrief? Yeah, it's the one from SimBrief. If we look in the Navigraph, that is the current weather. So 12089, 10 kilometers, clouds Ceiling not measurable, but scattered 3,200, scattered 4,300, 29 degrees, 1008. Perfect. So that's going to be a lovely day over in Gladstone. Can't wait to get out of the airplane and just have a look across the area, see what it's like. Alright, so, that means we're going to fly the RMP approach Romeo 10, or we could fly, for example, the VOR approach 28 and then do a circle to land for Romeo 10. I'm kinda intrigued, but let's just take the official version. Let's take the RNAV approach. Okay, so Romeo 10 RNAV, yes, transition via, that's what I'm looking for, via Goldsbar. However you pronounce that. Execute. Okay, so from Loaf to Goldsbar, let's clear that discontinuity. That looks like a good routing over there. Now, as you can see, the airport basically doesn't have any stars, so it's literally air traffic control giving you your route over here. That's basically what we are preparing for. So, quick look into the airport chart. It's not a complex airport, but it is a very nice one to operate into, and you'll see why in a few moments. We'll be landing Romeo 10, vacate hopefully Alpha 5, we might have to do backtrack, we'll see about that, and we'll park somewhere down here. Interestingly enough, it doesn't look like there actually is a parking chart available. Is there? No. Funny though that we got an EASA Air Ops minimum chart for an Australian airport, but hey, I'm happy with that. Alright, cool. So, that is pretty much all we need. So, RMP approach Romeo 10. I do wonder if the ATR is finally capable of flying those RMP approaches, but I suppose we are going to find out. If not, we can always simply plan with an LNAV minima and not with an LNAV VNAV minima, then we are on the safe side anyway. So 580 feet is going to be the minima that we'll need for that. Here we go, 580. With that, we are safe. 3.5 kilometers visibility, we do have those. Excellent. Alright, runway elevation 59 feet, and in here it says landing elevation 0. Perfectly fine with me. What is it doing down here? Nope, you keep me on 1 to 1.5, please. Alright, so for the routing itself, from Goldsbar above 4,000, it's going to be heading 011, 5 miles to Malden. That's what we've got in here, and then it's a right-hand turn towards, however you pronounce that. And then we already start our final approach. Okay, so interestingly enough, it says 0 degree descent slope in there, and over here it doesn't say anything, so not 100% sure if that is going to provide us with an accurate guidance. I mean, that waypoint up here, 2,650, is correct, but anything that's going to come thereafter, we'll have to see that. Okay, but we can live with that. So let's go ahead with our approach planning then. Transition altitude 10,000, transition level 110. Funnily enough, it's asking for the altitude over here, so it can have that. And the QNH, I do believe 1009, 1008. That's why we're checking it. Okay, so 120 at 9, no gusts. Here we go. Okay, we approach 116, landing flaps full, looking good to me. I do believe that's all we need. Right, excellent. That's about as easy as it gets. What's the VNAV profile saying? Yeah, okay. And on page number 2, temperature compensation is not needed. So destination temperature 29. Oh, we can't even enter that. Lovely. Do we have to tell it 29 centigrade maybe? No. Okay. QNH in inches. Why is that? Well, 1008 in inches is 2977. And it doesn't take it. Lovely. What if we do only 2977? Nope. And if we do it in hectopascals nonetheless? 1008? Nah, okay. Looks like that is not simulated. That's probably the most likely answer to this. Anyway, this is, and this is probably the most important thing we have. Okay. So I do tend to say that that's all the preparation we could do. So let's go ahead, turn that time acceleration on again. And back towards 4x. And well, with that we're on the way again. So this time I'm trying to stay in the cockpit for a little bit. And as you can see, even with acceleration the thing is behaving really well. About to overfly Lofi and set away towards the base lag on the approach. And as you can see, the airplane's doing a very good job over here. Really is. I really like how the ATR autopilot is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And hey, we're airborne for 56 minutes already. Feels interesting, doesn't it? Now, when I started using time acceleration in the sim, I was probably a little bit like some of you are, being like, nah, but that's so unrealistic. But that was really only until I started exploring the possibilities it gave me, like all of a sudden flying long haul when I only got like an evening of time, and that just added a completely new perspective to my flight simming, and that's the reason why I'm doing it. So, realistic or not, hey, we're all sitting in front of a computer playing a computer game, do we? As much as most of us wished for it to be real. So, on the ground I told you that I would be telling you a little bit story about how those turboprop engines actually work up here. In regards of the engine and the propeller brake and stuff like that. So let's quickly talk about that. Most importantly, there is two things for us to understand. The first of them is, how does a propeller brake work? And in order to understand that, we need to understand of how those turboprop engines work in general. So, in general, turboprop engines work on an easy basis. You basically got a turbine engine, just like the one that you find on a jet airliner, like a 737 or an A330. And then instead of putting a fan at the front, you stick a propeller on it. Now, what's the advantage of flying turboprop then, compared to flying jets? Well, mostly it's the power you've got available at lower levels. So a propeller has got a very direct response, and a propeller in the lower parts of the atmosphere is the more efficient engine than a jet. The jet only becomes imperative when you're flying up at the higher levels and when you want to do very high speeds. Now on a plane like the ATR we don't really need those very high speeds. When I planned this flight, I at first considered if I should fly it using the Fokker 28 or using the ATR, and I calculated sim flights for both aircraft. The Fokker would have taken an hour for the flight, the ATR takes an hour and 20. Now, the ATR on the other hand side uses less than half the fuel that the Fokker would use. And that is where turboprop engines become really important. Now, they can't fly that fast, like if we leave military aircraft apart, the typical fast turboprop aircraft reach about 300 knots true airspeed. The ATR 260, 270, the likes, it's okay. It's not the fastest, but on those routes that those aircraft fly, you basically don't lose too much time by flying a little bit slower when compared to using half the amount of fuel or even less. On a flight like this one, the ATR uses approximately a ton of fuel. Now, compare that to a 737 that would use like 2.5 tons or something the likes. And that gives you an idea of the fuel savings you can achieve by just taking, 20 minutes longer, flying an hour 20 versus an hour. That's not all that much longer, if you think about it, but it is going to save you a lot of fuel and operating cost. Okay then, let's go ahead and set our altitude down. We're going to 4,000 at first for our descent. VNAV is armed. Oh, that's interesting. Alt star. Why is it going in Alt star? Don't do that. Give me vertical speed, please. Minus 1,000. Okay, so that is that. Let's go ahead with a little bit of stuff for the landing then. Recall is checked. So, weather and landing information obtained. Landing data card is, well, more or less filled. Okay, then let's set QNH 1008. Still can't set that. We'll probably have to wait until we can press the B button. And funnily enough, the altimeter on the FO side is still inoperative. So not all that many fixes with the update, it seems. Or at least some of the important stuff like, come on, you can't set 2 of the altimeters? That is, you know, the plane should be grounded for that. I really wonder why they do nonsense like that. But hey, welcome to the Asobo world, I suppose. Okay, anyway. That's most of the preparation done over here, so we'll just wait until we overfly the top of descent. I do believe that is when they show you the descent checklist. That's what I meant. Alright, so over here we got a VNAV profile. Let's go VNAV. VNAV path. So let's go for that. In the meantime, descent checklist. Flight warning system, recall, landing elevation. 0 checked, FMS, set and checked, DHMDA, set and checked, arrival briefing, performed, descent checklist complete. Okay, so we're going to fly at approximately 240 knots. One of the nice things of flying a turboprop aircraft is that you can more or less leave the power standing and cruise completely, because these things just aren't going to overspeed. They don't have enough power available. And then for the speed control in the descent, the nice thing about turboprops there, again, is that you pull the power levers backwards and you get an immediate response from the plane. When you do larger power changes in a jet, it always takes a little bit of time until the airplane starts responding, but with turboprops, it happens more or less immediately, which I do really appreciate. Also, let's reset that chrono, by the way. The elapsed timer is running over here. Right, so like that, it's really easy to maintain our target 240 knots. Okay, with our descent initialized, let's go ahead and turn on the seatbelts and the no device signs. Well, the no device we can keep until until 10,000 or so. But hey. Okay, so that is looking rather good. So next up at flight level 100 we're going to do the next action, so until then we will continue our flight up down here. Okay, then if we just go back outside for a second, let's quickly finish our explanation on the turboprop engines. So what you've got is basically 2 things. You've got a normal turbine engine in here, like you have on a jet, and then you've got the propeller stuck onto it. The good thing is that you can, let's call it, uncouple the propeller from the turbine. And that is what we basically do when we put the ATR into hotel mode. So basically, you uncouple the propeller and you brake the propeller, or you put a brake on the propeller so that it can't turn. While at the same time, the turbine engine in here is running already. And that way, the turbine engine basically can already provide things like hydraulic, like brake pressure and so on. While the propeller itself is not turning, and therefore it is safe for all the ground staff to be close to the airplane. So that way, ATR didn't have to install an APU in their aircraft, saving probably a couple hundred kilos of weight, and also making the airplane a little bit more balanced by not having to put a couple hundred kilos in the very aft end of the airplane, which makes the ATR, well, a little bit more balanced of an aircraft. And obviously it saves weight and thereby saves a lot of fuel. Alright, so that's pretty much that little story. So let's make sure that we don't get too fast down here. So, my zoom is stuck once again. I can't zoom in or out. Some people did tell me in the past that it would be an FS Realistic problem. Let's test that. I'm disabling FS Realistic now. Yep. Zoom is back to normal. Zooming in, zooming out, all works. Interesting. So it is indeed FS Realistic causing this. Well, let's start it again, see what's going to happen. Okay. We're back to normal. Nice. Okay, that is quite cool indeed. That we know how to solve this bug now. Okay, so let's go ahead with our checks. So we're passing 10,000. Landing lights on, seatbelts on, no device on, and cabin pressure. So now I can't zoom in. Sometimes it's really interesting what this thing is doing. Okay. So, cabin pressure is 1,100 and descending, landing elevation looking good. Excellent. Okay, so, we don't need... We do not need any nav aids for the approach. So I do suppose we can now go ahead and run the approach checklist. Now I can't zoom in, so let's disable FS Realistic once more. Here we go, okay. So, approach checklist. Landing, seatbelts. On, landing lights, on, altimeters. Well, I'm gonna use the B button now. 1008. Yeah, and the right side is still stuck. I mean, that bug is in the airplane ever since I first flew it. So that's in there for like almost a year now. I mean, come on, Microsoft. Do you really not care about being able to operate one of the two bloody primary altimeters in this airplane? Come on. You need to fix that ASAP. Okay, altimeter set checked, cabin altitude checked, approach checklist complete. So, we are pretty high up here at the moment, to be honest. I mean, we're not flying that fast, but still. Let's see how that VNAV is going to work out. I do have a feeling we will need to do a little aggressive maneuvering in a few moments, but hey, let's give it a chance. Let's see how that's going to turn out. In my opinion, we're much too high at the moment, but let's give the airplane a chance. Let's see what it's going to do. Ultimately, we are not just looking for a flawless flight here, but we're also looking for... we're also looking to test the airplane. I'm also going to start reducing my power a little bit now, so that our speed comes back to a, let's call it, more decent approach speed. As you heard it, FS Realistic is connected again. Let's see, can we zoom? Yes, we can. Interesting. I guess I don't always have to understand it. So, getting closer to a couple of clouds, but that's not really going to be a problem. It's 20-something degrees. Anyway. It's looking pretty cool. I do like the Australian landscape here. I do... Actually, I really have to thank ORBX for giving me those couple of Australian sceneries these days, which got me to fly a little bit more down here, which, honestly, I should have done a little bit earlier anyway. Okay, let's go down to 3,000. We can make that 2,650 and see where we end up. So according to the level of error, we are going to make it. Let's see. Let us see about it. I'm not convinced yet. In the meantime, reducing my speed further. That's another thing that I do like about those turboprop engines. You want to reduce your speed? Fine. You know, if you look at the propeller blades here, you can see how they basically changed their angle in order to provide drag instead of power now. Yep, that's checked. Alright, so 2 miles prior to the final approach fix, we should, as far as I remember, be able to engage approach mode. So 2 miles now, let's click approach. Yeah, vertical flight path has engaged. Great. So with that, the airplane should, with a bit of luck, now be able to actually conduct an RF approach. Point, while flying 0.2 miles to the left of the track. Okay, so we do get the appropriate indications. The only question now is it going to actually fly what it's supposed to fly? Okay, set Mr. Approach altitude, 3000. Going a little bit up and down, but that looks okay. I really have to say this looks okay. So, Gladstone as a city is coming up in the front. Really scenic approach over here as well. It's a beautiful area that we're flying in, isn't it? Okay, so, speed limit for takeoff flaps 180. Okay, so flaps 15. Speed checked. Landing gear operating speed 170 for lowering. We're below that. Gear down. And let's say we've got landing clearance already. Speed is coming down nicely. 150 is the limit for landing flaps. So we are just about getting below that right now. Okay, flaps 30. And power management going towards takeoff. Okay, before landing checklists. Cabin crew advised, landing gear 3 greens, flaps 30, power management, takeoff, TRU low speed. Checked, icing AOA light not required, external lights on before landing checklist complete. Okay, so I'm kind of split between disengaging the autopilot to enjoy a bit of manual flight, or just looking out and enjoying these awesome looking scenes on the outside here. Those rivers are looking really good, aren't they? I'm gonna keep the autopilot in for a little bit longer, just so that we can enjoy those sceneries here for a little bit more. The approach to Gladstone is really beautiful. If that was a criteria for ORBX to oh, no. No auto thrust here. Speed is checked and correcting. So back to 113. So if the approach was any criteria for ORBX when they chose which airports to model, then they have absolutely done the right choice here. This is beautiful. This really is. Look at this. I'm flying the airplane almost completely down here on autopilot, just because I'm enjoying the scenery so much. Okay, well, autopilot off. Let's do the rest manually. By the way, beautiful train station down here as well. Even a train is riding down there.
100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10,
Little flare, and we're down. $70 knots. Okay, and we'll vacate the runway over here, yes. Ooh, what's it doing? Man, my nose wheel steering just cut out there for a moment. I mean, with a little bit of differential braking, we got it back without a runway excursion, but hey, that was close. Okay, so welcome to Gladstone, everyone. Now, let's go ahead with the after landing procedures. Trims are reset, flaps coming up, gust lock, engage. Flight controls, yep, they're locked, I can't move them anymore. So, TCAS will use out off for the taxi in, radar. Standby, landing and strobe lights off. And the probe heats are coming off. Okay. We have an after landing checklist? We do. Radar, standby, controls, locked, flaps, 0. Trims, reset, landing and strobe lights off, anti-de-icing off, probe heating off, TRU. Off, after landing checklist complete. And after at least 2 minutes, we're going to shut down engine number 1. Perfect. Alright, so we'll taxi to the stand directly in front of us. What's really cool is you've got another stand down there, which basically is at a lower elevation than the one up here. So I'll show you a couple more details about that in a few moments, but let's first park on stand number 2 over here in Gladstone, which really turned out to be my favorite and preferred stand. Okay, 2 minutes are over. And engine 1 feather. Okay. And number 1 cut off. Might have overturned for a bit. Yeah. Slightly overshot the turn. This is looking better. Okay, here we are. So, parking brake is set, then let's go ahead with a shutdown. So, quick check here on the hydraulics. Provided I can even find them. Here we go. So, 3000 PSI 3 times is checked. Then, taxi light coming off. Parking brake is set. Condition lever number 2. Feather. Okay, we'll wait until the engine has run down. NP is still decreasing. Here we go. Okay, propeller brake is showing ready. And propeller brake. Come on. That click spot is messed up. Man, that click spot is fucked. That's annoying. That's something that they still need to work on. Okay, so propeller brake is on. With that, the engine is in hotel mode again, and NP is at 0. So NP is the propeller rotation, as we can see, is stopped, and the engine is running in hotel mode once again now. So with that, we can turn off the beacon. Okay, cool. So then, in order to avoid the airplane toppling over, we gotta get our well, let's open the document door. Not sure if you can actually give him the tail prop through that, but hey. Okay, tail prop in, shocks in, power available as well. Okay, so then we can turn off the seatbelt signs. Now everybody's standing up and running to the back into the direction of the door, so that's the reason we didn't do that in first place. Transponder, reset 2000, enter, thank you. Great. Okay then, parking checklist. Park and brake, engage, taxi and takeoff light. Off, condition lever 2. Feather, beacon. Off, transponder, standby, tailprop in position, seatbelts off. Alright, and we are going to leave the airplane over here, so we'll leave it on that. Okay then, so let's see. Oh, the front cargo door, we can close that one again. I'm going to leave the number 2 in the hotel mode for now, since it also provides us with a little bit of air conditioning. So, we can start the disembarkation, and in the meantime, let's do a quick last check on our airplane, and then I will show you around a little bit of this beautiful little airport in the Gladstone region, as they say on the sign. Now, it's called Gladstone Airport, and it's just been released by ORBX for about 15 euros plus your local sales tax, so that's a really good price for that small and beautiful airport. But more details on that in a moment. So let's see, fuel used 800 kilograms. Now, as I mentioned, in the 737 you would have used 2.5 tons on a flight like that. So even if you took 2 ATRs or 3 ATRs in order to transport the same amount of passengers, you would really need 3 ATRs in order to reach the fuel usage of a 737 for a flight like that. So that's really cool. Alright, in any case, let's go ahead and have a look outside now and explore the Gladstone Airport for a bit. We might just start with the parking stands where we're on, and the fact that I, well, kinda missed the mark, but without a marshaller, it's okay. Without a marshal, I don't care too much. So, the airport got like 3 parking positions for airliners, which, as you can see, you've got 2 on that little plateau up here. My favorite one being stand number 2, by the way. And then you've also got one that is located a little bit further down. So this is what it looks like, and ORBX have done a great job to mimic that, and you've got another 2 stands down here now. So you can walk all around over here, and you can actually enter a lot of the airport areas. So the entire airport is pretty much covered with glass over here, which looks quite cool. Now, no entry to the gates, but what we can do in any case is just to walk over here to the other side of that little glass door, and over here, well, those doors don't open. That would be a cool feature, but, well. Okay, so here we are, and that is what the terminal looks like. They've done a really awesome job, in my opinion, showing that, and the entire terminal looks really, really fascinating. Also look at the check-in area that you've got over here, and we can just walk through the entire thing, basically, and have a look at what the airport looks like. Now, the way out is always easier than the way in, so let's just start with that. Over here we can collect the baggage, and yeah, then your way out is located just over here. So now we're landside already. That's about as easy as the airport gets. Now, as I mentioned, it's a very small airport, basically 4 gates or something the likes. And it comes at a very good price as well, 15 euros plus your local sales tax, so effectively I'd say you can buy it for roughly about 17 or 18 euros. And it is a really cool airport in a really nice environment here as well. So over here we can do a check-in. Oh, Qantas is closed already. Well, good thing that we're not going on Qantas. Now, over here we can find our way around and basically enter where we left previously. Good thing, by the way, that they did not model all the security checks. I'm not a great fan of those, but well. Okay, so that's your way around the terminal on that side. Let's just quickly go over to the other one as well, because I do really like how that terminal is made up over here. It's a little cozy terminal. That's exactly how I like them. Probably reminds me of the good old days in Ryanair, where you flew to airports like these. Nowadays, with the A330, we'd probably have to do a little call to the chief pilot if we put an A330 down over here. Alright, so that's basically the waiting areas that we got over here. Let's see if that Qantas lounge is modeled as well. Oh, yes, it is. Haven't we seen this gentleman? So, loads of flights to Brisbane, I suppose. So, and the utmost flight is cancelled, actually. Lovely. I love it. Alright, as real as it gets, my dear friends. But nice to see that lounge over here. Really cool. Really, really cool. I really like how this airport looks. Okay then, let's quickly find our way down to the gates, and then I'll show you a little bit of the rest of the airport area as well. So, straight back to the gate, and here it is. Gate number 3, straight at. So let's go straight at. And here we are already. So you just walk out over here, and you end up directly at the lower of those gates. Really like it. And it's a really cozy, cool looking airport. That's the lounge up there from the outside. Lots of nice vehicles over here as well. And well, that is what the commercial part of that airport looks like. The airport is well suitable for things like 737s, A320s and stuff like that. But let's now go ahead and increase that drone speed a little bit and increase... Well, we can keep the rotation speed, so yeah, this is about looking fine. So now, let's just have an overview of some of the other areas. We do have some helicopter hangars over here as well, and some helicopter operations. Also, that's what the hangar looks like. And then we do have a general aviation hangar over here. It's neat, isn't it? They've done a great job. I mean, imagine your A2A Comanche in there. That's probably going to be a very nice place to do your setup. We've got the refueling area over here, and then we've got our GA parkings over here. Looking really good. A couple more of these over here, with a couple more stands, but smaller ones. Oh, there is even an open hangar in here. Nice. I gotta put my Learjet in here. That's probably gonna make for a great flight, isn't it? Let me know if you want to see that Learjet flight from here. Now let's quickly have a look at the opposite side of the airport area as well, so that we've seen it all. So this is what it looks like on the opposite side. As you can see, lots of parking space. Then we've got the fire department, ready to turn my landings into the best they possibly can. Alright, and then finally we do have a couple more hangars over here where we can have a quick look. But that's it already. So, small and cozy airport, beautiful approach as we've seen. And yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about it. That is Gladstone Airport. Small, cozy, and I really like it. Not too expensive either, at like 15 euros plus your local tax, or 25 Australian dollars, 18 US or 17 US dollars, something the likes. So, in my opinion, certainly if you're flying into Australia, if you're looking for nice little places where you can fly from the big hubs like Melbourne or Sydney, this is certainly one to consider. And with that, I would say that video has lasted for long enough already. Thank you very much for watching. Looking forward to see you all again on the next one. So, in the meantime, be sure to hit that like button, as it really helps out the channel. Be sure to hit that comment button to let me know what you think about this one. And finally, if you're up for more, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you really like what I'm doing, then I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. And finishing this one off, I would like to say thank you very much to ORBX for their recent support, providing me with sceneries like Gold Coast, like Gladstone, like Melbourne, which you're going to see in another video very shortly. So thank you very much for all of those, and with that, I am looking forward to see you all again on the next one.